Hey, welcome back. Steve Kutica with the UTSA Demonstration Kitchen Cooking Corner. Going with series number 2, or going with our second session of how to stretch your dollar with rotisserie chicken. We learned earlier how to do a Mediterranean or Greek-inspired cold grain salad. This one, what we're going to do is go through and make chicken lettuce wraps. We've all had chicken lettuce wraps before. They are a pretty easy thing to make, but we're going to go through and show you how to do that, again, using the leftover rotisserie chicken. So say our first time we bought this on a Sunday, and we want to make our meal for the day, and then maybe a couple of meals for the week. We ate maybe a half or a quarter of the bird, and there's still a lot left. So what are we going to do with some of that leftover chicken? So we got about $4 to $6 or $7, depending on your store, invested already in our chicken. How do we keep using that? So what we're going to do is make a quick lettuce wrap. And what we're going to do with that is pretty simple. We're going to cut down some veggies, do a little bit of a saute with that, and then bring in some lettuce. The lettuce that we're going to use is called a butter lettuce. This one is pretty nice in that it actually will keep for quite a while. It has a wonderful texture if you're going to use it on a sandwich, maybe a sandwich that's not cooked and you really have the flavor and the taste of the lettuce, as well as salads and so forth. It will keep a long time. It comes with a root ball, so you don't really have to worry about it going bad in just your refrigerator. So you'll be able to use this for multiple things. It is about $3, but you're going to get multiple uses out of it. So we'll have that. But first, what I want to do is work on a little bit of our vegetables. I'm going to do a little bit of red pepper, a little bit of green pepper. Already started cutting some of this down for other recipes. But what I'm going to do is go through the green pepper and just do slices. We are going to saute this, so we do want to roughly have everything be the same size. So when we saute it, it is basically cooked to the same doneness. And this will be a pretty easy, quick cook. What I'm going to do is get a saute pan. Right now we're using just a simple enamel saute pan, so it is a non-stick. It does work very well with high heat. We are going to use a specific oil with this today. So I'm going to go ahead and put the burner on about a medium-high heat. I'm going to let that start to come up. The oil that we're going to use today is sesame oil. You've probably had this flavor before if you've had stir fry or some other types of foods, even just simply fried rice. If you have fried rice as a leftover, or rice in general as a leftover, and you want to make fried rice, really all you have to do is add some veggies, add some scrambled egg, and bring some moisture back to it with sesame oil. So I'm going to put probably about a teaspoon of vegetable oil in the pan, and we're not going to use a lot of ingredients for this. It's really going to end up using a little bit of low sodium teriyaki, a little bit of low sodium soy sauce, some hoisin sauce, and then also our sesame oil. So I'm going to let that start to come to temp, bring that oil all around the pan. Again, we're at about a medium-high heat, and I'm going to finish chopping some of our veggies. So I've got those going. Go ahead and come over to my sauce or my saute pan. I can tell just by the way the oil's moving that it is coming to temp. You can tell when we get them in there that we're doing pretty good. So once we've got our peppers going, I'm going to add, again, using some convenience, I'm going to use just some prepared minced garlic. We can go with about a tablespoon. Again, depends on how much you like garlic. That's completely up to you. I'm just going to do a little bit of salt and pepper to this. We are going to end up adding a couple other things that are salty. They do have a lot of salinity, so we don't need to go a little overboard with that. Well, once we've got those two in, next what I want to do is get into our onion. And what I'm going to do, this is a sweet Vidalia onion. It's completely up to you what type of onion you'd like to use, but this one works really well for this dish. What I'm going to do is slice it in half, cut off both of the eyes, and then, trying to keep our cutting board clean, we're going to just pull off that outer, maybe 2 layers. The outer layers are very thin. You want that very outer layer, and some people stop there, but go ahead and get the next layer. It's still pretty thin, and once you cook it down, it can be tough. So again, just like anything else, there's a lot of ways you can cut things, and the easiest way to cut it is the way that gets it done and you don't get injured. But one way you can do, if you have a very sharp knife, because we're wanting to mince this in very similar size that we have with the rest of our veggies, is to go through and cut basically what would be planks and then steaks, and then we can come through and mince it. So I'm gonna partially cut through the onion. Now I'm working my way up as I go, being mindful of where my hands are. And I'm just gonna do a couple planks still held together by the back portion of the onion. Now, depending on what size of dice I want, I'm gonna come through a couple times. Like this, again, not cutting all the way back through the onion so it's still connected. And then I can just come through whatever size that I decided to go with this way. And you can see that everything is already cut to the size that I want. And once you get used to this, it is a little bit safer than doing slices and then going back through, because you're just cutting less times. And it helps keep the onion more so intact as you go. So again, that's pretty much all the onion I'm going with, which is about maybe a quarter of that onion. They're very big sweet Vidalia onions here, so we'll add that to the rest of our mix. Move it around a little bit. You can use your tongs, any of your wooden spatulas. Sometimes just kind of giving it a flip. What you're doing is just pushing it away from you and then bringing it back, just to kind of fold things in. You'll lose a couple pieces here and there. That's normal. You're not perfect, which I'm not perfect. So now we'll get to our mushrooms. Again, we're using baby portobello mushrooms. We are cooking these, so I'm going to use the entire thing. If the mushroom was a little bit bigger, there is what they call gills, and that's this dark portion here. These mushrooms aren't really big enough to have the gills. A lot of times you'll scrape those out. It is really good flavor, but if you're cooking the mushroom, it's up to you whether you keep it or not, because it will really kind of just disintegrate or dissipate into the rest of your dish. So we're going to do a couple mushrooms, and again, we're just doing a chop on these, and it depends on how much you like mushrooms. I am putting these in at the end because I want to have a little bit of texture to them. They're going to basically release all of their moisture and then bring in any moisture that's still in the pan. And we just want to saute the veggies until they're roughly translucent. These will saute for maybe about 5 to 10 minutes. It's completely up to you. If you're a textural eater, if you want things to be, more crisp or less crisp, that's completely up to you. As I'm sitting here moving stuff around, just remember, we're on medium-high heat. We want this to cook. We don't have to keep moving it around. We want it to be in contact with the pan. You'll notice too, I always tend to have my handles off to the left. I'm right-handed. I want to have my handle off to the left and out of the way, and it's not in the way of me hitting it with my right hand. And again, you can move that around as much as you'd like. So the next thing we're going to do is add about 4 ounces of chicken. You can use as much as you'd like. It's completely up to you. But we're going to go ahead and just start to incorporate that in, because we're getting to the point where we're going to add our sauces now. And again, this is completely up to you. You can add more, add less if you want some different things in here. It's starting to look pretty good. Still really colorful. But a couple of things that we're going to add, that's teriyaki sauce. Again, it's completely up to you as to how much. So while we're doing that, just take a couple minutes. Let's get a couple of our pieces of lettuce. And what I'm going to do is just pull a couple pieces off. Depends on, again, how many of these you're serving, whether it's for you or for you and others, or maybe it's just even an appetizer if you're doing something else. So I'm going to pull a couple leaves off. And the good thing too, with the sauces that we use, you can see that it's starting to really have a good simmer. I can turn it down to about a medium now. It depends on how much liquid you really want to have with this. A lot of times when you have it out, there may be a dipping sauce or sauce to pour over the top. And the good thing is, a lot of times it's derived from some of the same things that we went ahead and put in that. All you would need to do to add extra is maybe some red pepper flake, maybe a little vinegar, just something to add some acidity with the vinegar, and then also maybe some spice, maybe even if you had some wasabi or some mustard. But now that we've gotten to this point, I'm gonna go ahead and turn the burner off. And then however much you would like to put into each one of the cups, as you can see, we've got them set up here. I've got 3. We've got this ready to go, and then I'm just gonna use my tongs. That way I can get really what I want, and there's maybe hard to see, but there's really 3 different lettuce leaves here. And I'm gonna put, again, as much as I want in there. It's completely up to you. But you can see that I'm doing 3 lettuce leaves, pretty generous, with all of the items that are in here, and there's still a pretty substantial amount left. So again, this is just chicken lettuce wraps, another cheap and easy way to use that leftover rotisserie chicken. And come see us next time and see what else we're gonna do with it. Thanks.